Hello YouTube, it's me, I am back at Dobrodošli. I just want to apologise for the delay of this video. This is about a month now since my last video. Really do apologise, I've just been completely busy and hectic, been running around all the place. Just a little update on what's been going on. Literally, as far as work, that's always continuous. As far as like other stuff, I've just been playing a few shows. I've literally just come back from Slovenia, and it's such a beautiful country. I really recommend it as a place to visit in the Central Europe to the Eastern European region. It is really beautiful as a country, so historic, so ancient, beautiful like scenery, like seriously, the mountain scenery, whenever you go through it, it's absolutely gorgeous. The weather is beautiful, and literally everyone there is so nice. But as well as that, in the next 4 weeks to a month or so, I'm going to be flying to Serbia on the 25th of June till the 12th of July, because I'm going to be seeing family, relatives, and also going to Exit Festival. So if you are going to be around Exit Festival, then just let me know. I'm going to be there. Obviously I'm going because The Cure are performing. This is my first Cure show. Contradicting to what I said in the previous video about I wanted to see them, but for a price like that, I can't necessarily refuse. So hopefully it's going to be fun. And for myself, as I've just literally come back from Slovenia and then going to Serbia, it reminded me, a few of you were asking about, or asking me to do a video on my top 10 list of favourite ex-Yugoslavian Slavic goth bands or post-punk bands. I thought, okay then, why not do this? So this is going to be a back-to-back video, so this week I'm going to do this video, and then next week I'm going to do the other video. So this video is going to be my top 5 ex-Yugoslavian post-punk and goth bands, and then the next week I'm going to upload my top 5 ex-Yugoslavian synthwave bands. Now the reason why I want to do 5 instead of 10 is purely because that when you're looking at this type of stuff or researching Slavic old ex-Yugoslavian bands, a lot of this was very much underground, as well as pretty much not really that heard of from the Western scene or Western audience. So you can find a lot of, like the old cult bands or underground-ish bands on YouTube. You can only probably find about 1 or 2 songs, which is a shame. So it's very hard to really make a video, or a list should I say, on bands with as little information as there is. So this is what I want to do, top 5. So these are my top 5 ex-Yugoslavian post-punk / goth bands. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so number 5, we're going to start off, we're going to go to the Croatian side of ex-Yugoslavia, and we're going to start off with a band called Phantasmagoria. Now Phantasmagoria originally got their name from the Damned album of the same title, Phantasmagoria. They were very much influenced by Sister Mercy, Killing Joke, Joy Division, all that type of prominent goth music that we'd hear from, like in the West, like in England, the United States. So what I necessarily like about their music is not only the case of they brought that type of Western element of gothic music, or that type of gothic repertoire, should I say, but they also brought in their own style along with it, and that's what I quite like about them, how they use like Yugoslavian or Croatian or Serbian, incorporated that sound into their style. And just a little like brief history of Phantasmagoria. So they were formed in Zagreb in 1988, and they're still going on to this day. In fact, they actually recently played a show with Christian Death in Croatia about a couple of days ago actually. So it just shows that they're still going around, they're still keeping that gothic-y flame from about 30 years ago. So it's really good to see. And the fact that there's such a cult following as well, because they've still got such a high following even now from the old generation and the new generation. As far as songs go, I mean, the song which I'm playing at the moment, Boya, which means colour, you've got that one. You've also got the singles like Alex and Invitation to Heaven, and I'm pretty sure they have a music video for Better World. So it's worth just having a little look about with them. You can find some of their stuff online, on Discogs or anything like that. So feel free to check Phantasmagoria out if you like that type of Western relation, something that reminds you of Sister Mercy or The Mission or even Rosetta Stone, that type of sound, then definitely go and check them out. Okay, number 4, we're going to go with a band called Luna. Okay, Luna were from a region of Serbia called Novi Sad. They originally started in 1981 to 1984, and what I necessarily like about them is, just like Phantasmagoria, they were big in their own right. Even though after when they disbanded, they did have on and off reunion shows. And I think their last show together was in 2004 at the Exeter Festival, which must have been really, really good, to be fair. But what I like about Luna is it's a bit like a supergroup in a way, because you had members of EKV and Strada went to form this band. As far as I'm aware of, they released only one album, which is in translation called Unusual Things. And as far as the music aspect goes, what I like is when we hear gothic rock, you kind of like picture like Bauhaus and Christian Death and Sister Mercy, especially more of the Batcave type of music, should I say. So a lot more like Birthday Party. What I like about Luna, especially on their song Villa, which means fair in Slovenian, it has that traditional, if yet even better aspect of Batcave music. Basically, it has that raw edge to it. It has that creepy eerie guitar vibe. It has that chaotic but recognizable bass, that sense of punk-driven repertoire that strives with the song, and even that moody and broody like flow to it. And especially when you hear it in Villa, it's very easy to hear it out. But when you listen to the whole album, it still carries on such like a dark, gloomy aspect. And to me, it's like the epitome of what gothic rock should be in its entirety, whether it's east or west. It should always have like that type of sound, that's creepy, dark, chaotic. So like if Yugoslavia was to have the Batcave, they would have definitely been on there. And I definitely recommend checking Luna out. They're so beautiful, they're so great, should I say. They're so great, they're so popular, even in the underground like goth scene now. I mean, their name is still mentioned plenty of times. So definitely give them a check out. Okay, number 3, this is a band called Morbidi I Manoj. Now, in translation, that means morbid and crowds. There isn't too much information about them, but their main frontman, he is quite a well-known figure in the Serbian media. I'm pretty sure he's like a presenter or a commentator now, but back then, back in between 1982 to 1984-5, he formed Morbidi Manoj, which what I liked about was very similar to Luna. They have that traditional type of gothic-y vibe. They have those eerie type of guitar riffs that we'll probably find from Killing Joke, but at the same time those melodic bass lines that we'd find from Bauhaus. And the way how the vocals work with the music is what I like the most. It's very dark, well, it's very brooding, it's very deep, it's very much baritone-esque, but it's haunting. You can hear this type of stuff in songs like Divanya Dan, which I used in my top 10 sad songs. And what I generally like about them as well is not only just the use of like backing vocals, female vocals, but even certain songs they have like that traditional Slavic-y type of string sound to it. So like I said in Divanya Dan, you can hear it clearly for like the cello or the violins. And then you have other songs of theirs which has that beautiful, like typical punkish, post-punk feel to it, like their single Put, which is a very good example of how gothic rock was kind of determined and incorporated into that type of scene. And as much as like the aesthetic goes, I tend to find that a lot of Yugoslavian bands didn't care much for aesthetics but more for music, because a lot of them came off the backbone of punk, so they just made it a little bit heavier. And I'll send a link down to their release I can find. I'm pretty sure they released about 1 or 2 records. I could be wrong on that number, but I'm very sure they have released something. So I'll try and find a full link below and definitely give them a check out. And I'm pretty sure if you like that type of dark, brooding, Yugoslavian sound to it, then you will not be disappointed. Okay, number 2, and this is going to surprise a lot of people because this is personally one of my favourite alternative bands of the Yugoslavian era, and I'm going to explain why they're the number 2 on this list, and this is Ekaterina Velika. Now, for those who know me on social media, they'll know that Ekaterina Velika is my favourite like Slavic band to ever exist. I genuinely love their music. I've listened to them since I was quite young, and the reason why they're on number 2 on this list instead of number 1 is one, not because I didn't want to be that predictable or that obvious, but also that when it comes to like that sense of post-punk and goth, there's one more that kind of beats them at this. But yeah, let's just go into a little bit of a dibble-dabble on Ekaterina Velika's history. They formed in 1982 till 1994, up to the passing of their lead vocalist and lead guitarist Milan Mladenovic. They were formed in Belgrade, Serbia, and what I generally like about them is not just their underground status, but they also have a very high cult following even to now. They're a post-punk band that mixes bit of art rock and a slight little bit of gothic rock to an aspect, but I love the concept of how experimental they were in that post-punk type of subgenre. Being a band that was quite underground to the point where they got recognition quite quickly, and even after when the band departed, it still shows that even when you go to, say, ex-Yugoslavian countries, how like popular they are, even though it's very hard to find their music. Like the last time, well no, 2 years ago when I went to Serbia, I tried to find their music, like their CDs, because you kind of think that they're still an iconic cult band, they would sell something. But no, it was actually generally very hard to find their stuff, and even when I went to Slovenia last week, they did have a couple of their LPs, but it was about €100, €150, because of how like niche they are to the newish type of audience, but still recognisable to the older generation. But recently that's changing, because the last time I did go to Belgrade or Valjevo or in Serbia in general, I managed to find reissue copies of their music, and I was so happy to find that out. So I ended up buying all of them. But no, what I generally do like as well about Ekaterina Velika is, just like with any cult band, they have like this type of dark essence about them, and with all of them, all 4 of the original members, they've long since gone from various reasons. So I said their singer died of cancer at a young age, their keyboardist, she died of AIDS back in 2001, their bassist, he died in London, and I'm pretty sure it was a hit-and-run accident, but it's still not speculated. And their drummer, their first drummer, is the first person to be diagnosed with AIDS in the whole Yugoslavia. And what I necessarily like, not just that type of sense of you get more popular when you're gone or dead, but just the way how the music bounces. So like, especially the bass, I love the bass on EKV's records, because it's so distinctive, it's so recognisable, and it's so beautiful. Like if you listen to the song Ghetto, which is currently playing in the background at the moment, you'll find that the bass truly does stand out the most, and that's what drew me to appreciating their music a lot more. Then following the way how the keyboards are used in various other songs, and even like the chaotic post-punkish type of vibe you get from the guitars, especially in Ghetto. The song Soba, which is a beautiful song in its own right. In fact, a doom metal band from Serbia called Blockouts did a cover of this for a tribute to Mladenovic, and it's, in my opinion, so much better than the original, which is awful to say, but it's so good. But that's like their experimentation with like shoegaze and ethereal music with post-punk. But then you have like darker songs like Anastasia, which is one of my all-time favourites. And probably the most post-punky-ish, like rockish one they have is Pagodina za nas, which means a few days left for us. And seriously, I recommend you listen to EKV or Ekaterina Velika, depends how you want to pronounce it, and let me know what you think of them. And just before we get to our number 1 pick, I want to give out some honourable mentions. These are the ones which I did find like a few songs very interesting, which cement like that Slavic look, but unfortunately there was not that much information that I could find about them, so I just wanted to give them the little honourable mentions. Okay, and number 1, we're going to go with a band called Strada. Now, Strada, they formed in Novi Sad in Serbia from 1979 to 1987. And basically, to me, they're like the most like post-punkish of the group, because even when they took their break about 1981-ish, a few members actually went to form Luna, which, if you listen to the music, you can tell it's the same vocalist, Slobodan Tishma, and their drummer thing ended up joining EKV after the first drummer left. So it still had that close connection to the Yugoslavian bands at that time. It was like quite a knit, compacted scene. And what I like about them, they do have this type of cult following, but probably a little bit lesser known than EKV and Luna. But what I like about them is their transition between post-punk and then just general dark ambience. So if we were to look at the song which is playing at the moment, which is Želja, which means wish in Slovenian, you'll find that if you listen to this, it has a Joy Divisionist type of sound to it, but with like a Morrissey instrumentation, basically. Because the first time I listened to this, like the way how the drums played and the bass is played, it reminds you very much of like a typical Joy Division slash post-punk vibe, and then when you hear the vocals, it has that Ian Curtis representation, but once it kind of builds up and starts exploring itself up to the pre-chorus and chorus, and it just explodes into this, I wouldn't say an anthem, but like a chant, which you can hear all these like angsty teenagers, rebellious teenagers of the Yugoslavian era getting into and finding this type of like love for. And what I genuinely like about La Strada is just not the way how they use like elements of rock and punk and post-punk and create it a lot darker, but it's because they never really identify themselves as a goth band, but many of the gothic followers did appreciate them and listen to them, especially when they went to form Luna, as I said. And what I do like a lot about them as well is how they balance out that level of darkness. Even when you listen to Vetroglavica, which, if you remember, was on my top 10 saddest videos, and said they portray like the aspects of depression really well in that song. And the first time I heard that song, not only to me does it sound like the epitome of depression, but to me it's basically like the darkest gothic song which I've heard without really being labelled as gothic. Because you kind of say it's post-punkish, but you can say that it has a lot of a darker aspect to it, especially the way how the minimalistic use of guitars and bass are used compared to like the way how his vocals roar and empower in that song, and then just the overall emotions. And just overall in general, this is what I like about Yugoslavian goth music, to be precise, as well as post-punk, because there's such a niche gap to it. What I love about it is the case of we are so used to hearing like bands from like the Batcave and the Western type of goth, but when you listen to bands from like the East or other parts of the world, you'd be very surprised how much they surprise you. And with digging into this type of music, it surprised me quite a lot to realise that, to me, the way how I hear this is how goth should sound like. This is like the epitome of goth. It doesn't necessarily like transition away from one sound or denies itself. When you listen to this, you can hear that this is like Batcave-y, 8-ish type of Yugoslavian goth era, and that's what I like about it. And the fact it's still so hidden now is something that I still thrive about, because not many people even in Serbia can remember them or even heard of them. And I think it's good to find hidden gems in different countries. Okay then, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that video, and as I said, I'm very sorry for this late video. See you all next week for my next video, the top 5 synthwave bands. Be sure to check out all the recommendations, even the ones in the description below. I hope to see you all very soon. Ciao.